Hello to everyone there on BookTube. It's Amy here. On the weekend, and I know it's been a while, but on the weekend I went to the Toronto Antiquarian Book Fair, hosted at the Art Gallery of Ontario in one of their event spaces. I went on the Saturday, taking the train into the city of Toronto, and getting in a little bit late, unfortunately. I thought I was going to be there right in time for the opening of the sale, but I didn't get in until almost 11. But I went to the fair. Here's the lovely brochure here. They had an excellent selection of sellers from various shops all over the world. And if we just scroll down here, of course, Patrick McGarren Books was there, but I didn't go all the way to Toronto just to shop from Patrick McGarren Books, because his shop's here in Ottawa. But I think there was actually more sellers, or certainly more sellers with more interesting stock than last year. I quite enjoyed the sale last year. Last year I bought a couple of books from the Scribe bookstore, which is located in Toronto, and I did buy another book from them this year. But let me just see if I can find the one I'm looking for, because I bought a set from another shop here, and yes, there they are. Wilfred M. de Freitas, located in Westmount, Quebec. They had come in for the sale. It seemed to be a husband and wife team. But I know you're probably all anxious to see what's just out of shot here. If you follow me over on Instagram, you may have already seen it. And I apologize if there's a glare, because they're all wrapped in kind of plastic glassine covers. But there we go. There is a set of the books, and it was really this final volume, the fifth one, the correspondence, that made me actually want to purchase this. And I do apologize for the glare. You can see my poster there. But we'll just take this plastic off of the one volume so we can take a better look at it. And so this is a set called Gray's Works, and it's very, very nicely bound. You can see all the detailing here on the bottom of the book, and that goes all the way around that gold. And just look at the band on that book. Several different colors, blue, red, white. I think there might even be a little bit of gold in there. Or actually, I don't think that's white at all. I think that might just be gold. But we'll change our angle here. So this volume is from 1843. The other volumes are a little bit earlier, from 1836. It seems to be that the correspondence was published later, after the fact. Gray was a poet, not a poet I'm particularly familiar with. I know who he was, and the bookseller, when I brought the volumes to him to check out, he quoted some of the poetry at me. And his wife ended up processing my payment. And she said it was just by chance they'd thrown these in the box, because they were looking for something that fit. And so it was, perfect that they were there waiting for me. Now this is interesting here. On the front of each book is this gold printer's device. It's a reproduction of a printer's device. This is the fish hook from the Eldine Press, which was, of course, one of the earliest European binders. And this is just a reproduction, of course, of that device. They've decided to use that from the Eldine Press. But of course, never in a million years could I afford an actual Eldine Press book. And so it is kind of fun to be able to add to my collection that printer's device reproduced. But here you can just tell how wonderfully these are bound. And let's see if I can get this to focus. we have Bound by Zazendorf, which is the name of the binder here. These beautiful, beautiful end papers. We'll just open that up, and there is our title page, 1843, and they have reproduced that Eldine printer's device. So there we have the correspondence of Thomas Gray and the Reverend Norton Nichols, with other pieces hitherto unpublished, edited by Reverend John Mitford. And as I'm sitting here, there's a teeny tiny little insect crawling on my phone, so I'll just get rid of that. So yes, there's that volume, which I read almost half of that correspondence on the train. But as you can see, there's 4 other volumes here, full of various things. Let's look at this volume. So as I said, the other volumes are from 1836. And so we've got other letters and whatnot here. Letters written by Gray. And I do love a good volume of correspondence, especially, 17th, 18th, 19th century correspondence. 20th century correspondence isn't too bad either, but I do love the earlier stuff. And so there we go. More letters, lots and lots of excellent letters here. Volume 2. Essays on the poetry of Gray. And there we have the beginning of the letters. So it looks like a full 2.5 volumes are his letters. Then we have the correspondence. So that's more letters. Essays on his poetry in volume 1. Unfortunately is a little bit dirty. The rest are in really excellent condition. Volume 1 looks like it was probably, the one that someone attempted to read, perhaps the one that was set out and exposed to everything that would be happening to a book in someone's home. And so we begin with the life of Thomas Gray. There we have a portrait. And we can see some of the ink has transferred over from the portrait on the frontispiece to the title page. And here we have the poems, poems and fragments, extracts. And so the first volume is biographical, and then we have the poetry. And I think I'm going to finish reading the volume of correspondence that I've started, and then I'll go ahead and read the poetry and read through the essays and the letters, which I think will be quite fun to dig into. And I couldn't resist. I picked up the volume of correspondence because they were just so pretty. I've never owned any fine bindings like these before, decorative bindings. But I opened the correspondence, and immediately there was a reference to Boswell. And I thought, well, that's meant to be, because I enjoy anything that references James Boswell or Dr. Johnson. And then the price was right, and so I thought, okay, let's go for this. But I got that set, and then I got another Hugh Thompson illustrated edition. So this is the History of Henry Esmond, and once again wrapped in plastic, but there is our spine, illustrated by Hugh Thompson, Macmillan and Company. And there were a couple of other Hugh Thompson illustrated books. Oops, let's get my receipt out of the way. There were a couple of other Hugh Thompson illustrated books at the sale, but nothing that caught my interest as much as this one. One of them did, but it was kind of dirty, and so I didn't really want to, purchase a book that had soiled boards. There was a time when I would have, but, if I'm going to a sale like that and spending my hard-earned money, I'm going to get a book that's in good condition. So here we have 1905, illustrated by Hugh Thompson. Another nice addition to my Hugh Thompson collection. And it may be time before this year is out for me to actually read the history of Henry Esmond, because I don't believe I've ever actually read this particular novel. I've read one or two others by Thackeray, but never the history of Henry Esmond. So that is my little haul, my little additions to my collection from the Antiquarian Book Fair in Toronto of this past weekend.